It's as if a drum has been beaten, a summons heard, the passing of summer. You look up one day and realize that it's gone, swift as a deer departing, and in its place is autumn. Nature's universal green is more olive, shadows are more opaque, and they lie longer across the grass. The trees make a darkness almost all day, sloping in the morning from the east and in the afternoon from the west. Both east and west, it seems, have moved toward each other, and the sun follows a briefer arc. Of course, it's all physics, and it's silly to try to understand it mathematically when you feel the change. The latter is a deeper understanding. The night air is colder, and the day air clearer, and the plants feel it. Their leaves, which in the spring wore a softening veil, now have a clear glass over them. Much of man's mania for classification is an arbitrary shot in the dark. More often than not, we labor and we label in ignorance. But there's a cosmic certainty to the seasons that seems to suggest that they were around, following one upon the other, long before man rose from the murk to name them. Indeed, we would not be here or exist in the state to which we've come if the sun and the earth and the moon had not conspired to dance and create the life-giving seasons. Science defines the seasons crisply enough for us, but it takes astrology and the farmer's almanac to divine their essences. Often a walk in the woods will do it. In temperate climes, where spring, summer, autumn, and winter are as distinct as the celestial poles, a rich undergrowth of lore and mythology has sprung up about the seasons. It wasn't too long ago, when we were brash with our new science, that lore of this sort was considered to be a thorny and poisonous briar, one that was dark and antagonistic to enlightenment. Now we've come to see that often it is complementary to science. The intuitions of farmers and poets and witches are the mince and the meat pie of the dour deducers and logicians. Ecologists, for example, are just now coming around to something that astrologers have known since ancient times, and this is that man is inextricably a part of nature and the universe, in mind as well as body, and that we are all in a dance with the stars. The first farmer on this earth, after several seasons living and working the land, would have told his son the same basic truths of the seasons that we find in the latest bulletins from the Agriculture Department's Extension Service. He would have said, as has Bertha Damon, that spring is the season of hope, and therefore the one that is always in mind. Summer is fruition and the harvest, and fall is for feasting. Winter, of course, is for regeneration and rest. Here we're concerned with autumn and the coming of winter in the Texas Hill Country, a place of extremes, but not during the fall equinox and the winter solstice. It rarely gets below freezing here, and yet the plants and animals sense the subtle changes. By September, day breaks with little help from the birds. The furious life from the summer before burns itself out in the foliage. Leaves and grasses lose their green and fall to the ground and fade into humus. It's a lovely time, but oh so momentary, the glowing and the fading so inseparable. The very being of fall is in its passing. The sun is low in the sky from morning until night, and the days seem to shrink with the seeds in the sycamore pods. Yet the days will never expire, one knows that, and never will the life in the dry seed pods. Its fire will diminish to a faint pilot light, which will glow even in the icy days, awaiting spring and liberation. Autumn is positively the best time of year for scents and sounds. It's a pungent time of rotting plants and damp earth, a time to develop a sense of humus and to go back and read Bertha Damon. To consider humus, she wrote 30 years ago, is to get a hint of the oneness of the universe. All flesh is grass, in more than the figurative sense the prophet intended. During the long history of this planet, weather has disintegrated rock. Tiny lichens have made a speck of vegetable mold. Countless generations of short-lived weeds have waxed fat for a summer. Giant forests have flourished for an eon, and all in turn have died and given back to the earth more goodness than they have ever taken from it. All have been composted into humus. And the life of insects and of animals and of men, which was sustained upon the life of these plants and upon the life of other animals, all these creatures too have enriched the surface of the earth with their excreta and finally with their bodies. All in turn have been composted into humus. So we are never really in the dead of a winter. The seeds of life are simply submerged and suspended. Life is shrunken to its smallest compass. The earth nears its farthermost point from the sun in its yearly elliptical journey, and all creatures, man and beast and insect, take to their burrows. Our own life is more a matter of hearth and cellar. Logs and winter vegetables release the energy of last summer's sun, and we sit and take store of ourselves, just as nature herself is doing. Moses knew. Remember in Deuteronomy, when he is wintry old and ready to die, he gathers his children around him and he tells them, "Set your hearts into all the words which I testify among you this day." And this is what they heard him say: "Blessed of the Lord be his land, for the precious things of heaven, for the dew, and for the deep that coucheth beneath, and for the precious fruits brought forth by the sun, and for the precious things put forth by the moon, and for the chief things of the ancient mountains, and for the precious things of the lasting hills, and for the precious things of the earth, and the fullness thereof."